Welcome back, everybody, to Your Little Castle Show. If you didn't listen to that first show, Thane is a genius. He knows all what it takes if there's ever been a major calamity in your family. So we're going to talk about it quite a bit more. Stay tuned for this one, everybody.
And there's this and that, and like cut, It's like here you are, when to push the buttons, what's going to play next, the timing's down. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah. We've spent quite a bit of time. I'm a computer nerd. My mom and dad made me go to computer classes just in case the baseball career didn't work out. So here we are. We're live. And my buddy Paul said, Carter, he worked for ABC. He said, you've taken like 12 jobs and combined it into one.
Right.
And he said, what about the graphics guy? He goes, 13. So, but we enjoy getting to highlight the leaders in our community because there's so many people that they do such great work and they don't have a $30,000 a week or a day budget to get the word out, but they do awesome stuff and they're usually better than the big guys.
No, yeah. Now that I'm understanding what you're doing, it's awesome, man.
Well, thank you.
Very cool.
Well, we wanted to give the spotlight. Once I figured out how to get the spotlight, you might see me run around with my Cardinal Cowboy stuff, but then I figured out, hey, there's lots of people who deserve to have the spotlight on them as well. So here we are.
Cool.
And thank you to all my sponsors, Car Shield and the Judge, Carter Law, and all of those who've helped us to get where we're at. Appreciate it. So tell me then, as a consumer, I went through this myself in a particular instance. We talked about that in the first show. If you missed that first show, again, watch that whole first show. Thane really lays it out there. But what is the biggest mistake that people make when they're going through this process?
You mean in terms of selecting a good...
Well, what is it? I mean, do they sometimes, we're going to hold off on doing the repairs, or they don't get enough contractors that they quote from?
Yeah, I would go back to what I was discussing in terms of when they get their insurance paperwork or their estimate from their insurance company, it's surprisingly very difficult to look at their estimate and translate that into easy understanding of what's damaged and how much is allowed for those repairs, right? Because you have your deductible removed from the funds, you have depreciation and non-recoverable depreciation, and what's called PWI, paid when incurred. And quite often when when a policyholder, future customer hopefully, sees these things, it's not an easy translation to understand what's going on there. So if I would make a suggestion to a consumer that's looking for help fixing the damage from a storm-related situation, is to work with a contractor that understands and can explain these things to them in the terminology and the estimate provided by the adjuster, and work with and has the ability and knowledge to work with the adjuster directly if those differences need to be fixed. So, and just in terms of selecting a good contractor, I would definitely suggest to look at their warranties, the products they use. Make sure that they're compliant with Missouri state regulations in terms of their commitment on start dates, of certain license requirements. And often what happens in restoration companies will contract a job with a customer, and that customer will really hit it off with that person that provides the estimate, but that person never comes back, and they deal with someone else they've never met during the production and repair process. So that's, other companies have different business models, but in my opinion, I think the customer is best served to, if they get a relationship with that salesperson, basically, maybe they should be a project manager and stay with the job to the duration, because you make a certain amount of commitments when you meet these folks as a contractor. Hopefully you put those things in writing. So our business model likes to see our guys and gals that contract their work with our clients also be the production manager, maintain supervision of the work, all the way to shaking their hand once they're satisfied with their work and getting the last payment. So,
yeah, this is quite the process, and this is not something you want to take lightly with regard to, like, look at the history bonded and insured, and how often, I hadn't thought about that, but how often is it, what kind of quality products do they use, and where do they get their materials from? Because
Right.
if they're not using top-notch stuff, then how long is that, what kind of warranty goes along with those?
I could give you one more easy example.
Yeah.
Let's say that the customer has had their home damaged by a hailstorm, and the roof is compromised and needs to be replaced. I would suggest they work with a contractor that offers making a point about the product, that there's roofing products out there that have warranties against hail. And they're a little bit more expensive, and sometimes you need to be a certified installer to offer these products. But if you use that roofing material, you will actually be able to let the insurance company know you've installed what's called a Class 4 roof, and their insurance company may drop their premium significantly, as much as 25% of the total, and that's quite a bit, because now that roof product maintains such a warranty on it, it pretty much indemnifies the insurance company from responsibility, so they give you that money back. And if you don't know these things, you could end up spending just as much on other designer shingle that's not Class 4 and not get the benefits of the reduced premiums.
We've had a lot of people in the studio, everybody, not to say that anybody didn't know this, but I just had not been brought up. Class 4, and we've talked about how, I just didn't realize, but that will help, the premium you're talking about is that insurance premium they're paying monthly, and bring that cost down, so that you're not going to have to pay as much. They're indemnified. You talked about it. They're less on the hook if there is a full repair, because now the product they've upgraded to is a Class 4.
Right.
And tell me, are there 3 other classes then, or how do those?
Well, if it's not identified as a certain category or class, and directly that material manufacturer directly takes responsibility to a certain extent of storm-related damages, just for example, you can use a higher quality of material that, through our experience, significantly reduces the chance of facing damage in the next storm, as opposed to, there might be a kind of a builder's grade vinyl siding, that what was damaged on their house existing, the insurance company is giving them funds to fix it. Well, we're going to educate our customers and give them, my rate of choices to where they can make the best decision for them, an educated decision, and maybe invest a little money in terms of like hardy plank siding, it's a product that doesn't warranty against hail, but I haven't replaced a hardy plank siding house due to hail maybe once in the last 20 years, where every time these storms come through our area, you have these side winds. Often their vinyl siding gets smoked, as you say, damaged significantly. Hardy plank is very hard to damage, so it's definitely worth the investment. Our area gets a lot of these storm events, and we've even roofed or replaced the siding on the same customer as many as 3 times. Wow. So, over the last couple of decades. So that investment might be something for a customer or a homeowner to seriously consider, as opposed to continually file claims and deal with the next issue, right? And to have those better products, you might be able to avoid filing a claim altogether.
Now you're talking about making life a lot easier, right? Nobody wants to say, hey, I can't wait to get the next claim. They're going to end up having some kind of a process you're going to go through, and having gone through it and then coming up short on the other end, it's fortunate, that I knew some people that would take care of me, but wow, they missed a couple big things, and now the value of the house is depreciated and not what I deserve to have.
Absolutely.
Upgraded, fixed to the proper standards, and then you get into the codes and all the other things you've got to manage, and hopefully you've got the experts that are handling all of that, because the codes change from year to year, from time to time, and so there's required updates that are mandated based on the codes, and so if you don't know what those are, then do you know where to get those updates from your insurance?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Carter. For example, our company has an unlimited commercial license in the state of Illinois. We do a lot of work in Illinois as well.
Okay.
That licensing is not required in Missouri. So when you have these what's called CAT adjusters, they're catastrophe adjusters, and these guys and gals go all over the country to assist when there's been a catastrophe, especially in a hurricane or tornado scenario, where they may work in a state and provide estimates and determine the damage, but not be at all aware of that state's building code. So you might have a residential building code book for the state of Missouri, that's the 2018 edition, while Illinois adopts the 2001 edition. And so, yeah, there's some nuance there for sure. And for example, if you have a home in Illinois just across the river, the code requires a certain amount of what's called ice barrier installed on your roof eaves, okay, to prevent damage from ice damming. Well, meanwhile, Missouri doesn't require that. Okay, so if you're servicing folks in Illinois, but you're predominantly working in the state of Missouri, you're doing them a disservice not being aware of the codes required there. And also, if that is missed and you pulled a permit and the building inspector comes on and he doesn't see that ice barrier, well, now you got to tear off the whole roof and do it again. So yes, it's very important to know building codes, follow those guidelines. And OSHA, of course, guidelines are super important. Roofing, except for scaffolding, roofing is the most dangerous work you can do in terms of fatalities and injuries. So yeah, it's these things are very important.
We covered a lot there, everybody. I hope you appreciate that. But rewind and watch again. That's why we do this. Tell me, residential, commercial, you've kind of, over your history, gone between the two, and tell me where you focus on now and what you enjoy doing now.
Well, you know, we don't try to have a preference so much, but I would, in terms of revenue, I would suggest that we do a lot of commercial, and that would predominantly be commercial roofing and any other restoration requirements. But you might have an insured loss on a commercial building where you have a myriad of things to fix on the exterior walls, windows, siding, trim, paint, all these things, but the roof is so expensive that it's 80% of the value of that claim. So, but meanwhile, you know, our bread and butter is residential. Excuse me, it helps, you know, doing a high quality job and turnout for a customer that owns their home, which is often their biggest investment, right?
Right.
It makes a big difference to that person to get that good result. We understand that. That's our objective to do. And, you know, as opposed to what a lot of companies do in terms of marketing, we feel that really having that connection with the customer, doing a good job for them, not only will likely get that customer back on their next project, but the word of mouth we get from them in the St. Louis area is solid gold in terms of a cost comparison to marketing versus just doing a great job. So.
Well, wherever the repair may come from, you have experience. I didn't realize, I mean, there's so much that goes into this with regard to the different state that you're in and the requirements and the permits that are mandated, or the licensing that you have to have. And you've just been doing this for so long, you've got that all under control.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's, you know, there's definitely mistakes along the way, hard lessons learned, and, you know, it's construction. So often, you know, a project, as much as your intention is to do a perfect job and meet all those expectations, if not exceed them, stuff happens, right? And I think what helps define a good general contractor and company is how well you deal with those things and how well, you know, you take responsibility to make it right. And that's what the approach I've always taken. And, you know, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. But I've learned from them, and I try to implement those solutions on a consistent basis, so less mistakes are made and better outcomes are achieved. So,
well, again, lots that goes into it, and can only imagine by now you've got lots of people that you've worked with. Can you give me an example of a time when you had a client that was just kind of left on a limb and you stepped in to help them? Give me an example.
Ooh, there's quite a bit of that. Well, here's an example, and sometimes This example I'm about to say is to where I might have even overextended myself, and here's my point. There's a church in the tornado-affected area. Much of their roofs have been torn off, and since their tornado, every time it rains in the sanctuary, in the chapel, the education building, and the insurance adjuster is hard to reach. He didn't allocate funds to have the roof temporarily covered. And part of that is flat roofing, and you really shouldn't try to use tarping to protect and do temporary protection for flat roofing. There's a different methodology to do that. It's much more expensive to do that. So often where we will do our best to help, and because of our confidence and experience dealing with insurance companies, we will in a lot of scenarios, we will commit and do that work without billing our customer, because we know we can be successful on getting those funds approved on the back end. So that's not always something that we jump into, but yes, we will do what we can to help folks and mitigate the damage, even if it's sometimes a little risky on our part, because our agreement is to do it for what the insurance company is willing to pay for this temporary repair. So as opposed to charging the client and having them pay a bunch of money up front and let them deal with the insurance company approving it, if it makes sense to us, we're going to go ahead and commit to it, and we'll rely on our experience and to get that result, get paid on the back end, so they aren't exposed. Their building continue to have damage while the insurance company and they try to communicate something that's not so easy to get across if you're not experienced doing it.
Lots goes into this, everybody. It's good to hear from somebody who's an expert. Thane, thank you for joining us.
Oh,
we got
appreciate
another
it.
15 minutes left here, but we're going to take a break and share some of our community involvement here. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, everybody, we're outside of Patios. This is where all the best baseball fans go. Get a good picture right there of Patios there. I'm paying my camera guy here. Sonny, we agreed to pay you double what we paid you last time, right? All right, we all know how much that is. So a little bit of the excitement we had here the other day. Annually, we make a trophy, right? This trophy right here is this year's trophy. It does get a little weathered, let's just say, over time. And I happen to have decided, I had a guy come up to me and goes, "Hey, Cowboy, what's up?" I told him I'd come back. I did come back. A lot of times when I get caught up, but that happened to initiate. He goes, "What's up with the trophy?" I said, "Well, we do kind of a dedication. It's in memory of my father, who raised me on baseball, right? Which is a great thing to be raised on." And I signed it right there. And then as I signed it, I put Braxton, and I put dedicated it, Braxton Rethridge. That's my dad. 38 seconds later, I go walking down. I see a youngster who's got, this is the same hat you were wearing that game? And I go up to him, I'm like, "Hey, what's your name? We got to do a cheer. Go ahead and hold the trophy for me." And I always get somebody, "Carl, what's up, brother?" I always get everybody's first name. And I say, "What's your first name? What's your first name?"
Braxton.
His first name is Braxton, everybody. If you don't believe there's some higher power stuff going on this little planet, the odds of somebody also being the name Braxton 38 seconds after I put my dad's name, who happens to be Braxton, there's something going on. So that brings us all Cardinal fans together. Who is your favorite?
His name is Carter Rethwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rethwich was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So after my coma, I realized that it was up to me if I was going to accomplish my goals, if I was going to reach my dreams. Despite what the naysayers would say, the people that were discouraging me, like they do everyone, it's up to me if I'm going to make it. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's up to you. You decide whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to reach your goals. Dream, and then always, always chase your dreams. Never give up. Giddy up. Hey everybody, Cardinal Cowboy here. I want to invite all of you to be part of my new team. No, you don't have to put on a baseball uniform and be a super fan. Now, it would be a good idea to cheer for the Cardinals, the greatest team in the history of the National League. But I'm talking about the Gold Cowboy team. You know, I love to help people follow their dreams and reach their goals in business and in life. So that's one of the reasons why I'm telling you about my friends at My Metal Pro. They help people like you and I acquire gold and silver with a membership that lets you safely buy, sell, and store gold and silver. They make it real easy to get started. My Metal Pro isn't like the big guys you see on network TV or the big coin shops that take a huge commission. So become part of my Gold Cowboy team. Scan the QR code or go to goldcowboy.com and check it out. Giddy up! Well, there you go. Fun stuff in the community. Lots of people we get to interact with. And that kid his name was Braxton. I mean, what are the odds?
Pretty cool.
My dad, who's up in heaven right now, kind of hit home a little bit. They're kind of neat. But with that, the media and everything we do in the community, everything we get out there with this whole social media, internet, the interwebs, we make the joke. I wrote my master's thesis called The Internet back in 1995 through 98, thinking this internet thing might catch on.
Yeah.
How has technology changed the way you guys run your business?
That's a great question, Carter. You know, when I started into this business, again, referring back to 2001, where the majority of North County got hit with a huge hailstorm. It was $1 billion loss, meaning the cost of the repairs were as much as $1 billion back then. Every roof I got on, I measured by hand. And it wasn't always the most comfortable temperatures out there either doing it, as well as a lot of these roofs were steep and hard to get on.
Right.
And you know, believe it or not, I had some fear of heights too, operating on these roofs. But
Okay.
You know, helping the customers and making sure I fed my family, I overcame that, and I got very good at determining the square footage and the different aspects of the roofs to generate an estimate. Well, about 15 years ago or so, they came out with this software. There's a specific company called EagleView, and what they utilize is aerial pictometry that's taken during catastrophes where they fly a plane at a certain precise elevation and use these high-end cameras to capture the entire area below, and to such an extent of accuracy that they can, software can take that information, process it, and get the square footage of the roof, the pitch of the roof, and other specifications down to the inch. So yeah, it was a very good day when that came around for me and my team, to where we could utilize this software, and the insurance company accepts that in a scenario if it's an insured loss, and we're dealing with them. They're not relying on my hand measurements,
Right.
which is, to give an understanding to the insurance company, not all contractors are going to be accurate in terms of coming up with their own measurements. But since EagleView in this case does that, it's an easy segue into not a dispute on measurements, okay? And there's other, like Xactimate. It's been around a long time, but that's been improved. There's been improvements on that. But another example of a recent technology, you know, we have these commercial projects in the tornado loss area, and there's an extensive amount of interior damage, right, from all the moisture infiltration. So from the roof to the bottom floor of a 4-story, or even a residential home, we have a few of those where the water came in from the flat roof, got peeled back like a can of sardines from the winds. water rushed in from the 4th floor down all the way to the 1st floor. So to go there with tape measure and so forth and measure these things by hand and determine the moisture level is very difficult. What we use is a lot of, we implement a lot of thermal cameras that'll determine the moisture level behind the walls, behind the roof material, and document that to the benefit of our clients, because we need to make sure that information is stored before the water dries up, because it's really hard to have the insurance company consider repairs when it's damaged the wall, but they weren't there when it was soaking wet, right? And we also, let's say, same scenario, there's 20 different rooms to consider in terms of the damage on this residential house I'm talking about. Well, we implement a camera that's called Made by Matterport, and it utilizes LiDAR technology, right? And what that does is that you set it up, you move it around a couple times in a room, and it'll capture absolutely everything in that room in a 3D environment. So if you've ever looked for a home for sale online and you've seen these, like on Zillow, you know, you can walk through these houses, just think 10x in terms of quality and accuracy of that scenario, right? And again, we rely on providing these technology and data collection to communicate our estimate to the carrier, so we don't have to say too much. We're just like, here, take a look. Here's the thermal reading. Here's the LiDAR. And we'll see, the cool thing about the LiDAR is that in about 60 seconds, 20 seconds each location, I could do the average living room in less than a minute or two, and this thing provides all the measurements. So all you have to do is click on that door jamb and the measurements pop up. Click on that ceiling and the square footage is there. So that's from a time saving, time management perspective, it's a huge benefit, and therefore we can be more accurate. Our estimates can be more, down to the dollar, and we can save a lot of time and help more people.
There you have it, everybody. It seems like when you bring in the right expert, you're going to get the information necessary. I know many times I sit down with somebody to go over the cost per conversion and clicks and conversion rate and all these things. People kind of go, I'm not even sure everything he said, but I know he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
So those are the kinds of people we want to just know we can count on. Tell me that. I can only imagine somebody says, how do we get signed up? How do we start the process? How does somebody contact you to hire you?
Well, like I said, for us to come out and provide a detailed estimate and inspection, there's no fee associated with it. So you have absolutely nothing to lose other than, you're just going to get a great opportunity to be able to make a more educated decision. So if you were to just call us on our main line or go to our website at ATRS1, that's digit1.com. You can go to our contact or request an estimate button there and just fill out your information, and we'll get a hold of you ASAP and set up a time to do the inspection.
Well, there we have it, everybody. An expert sharing what they know and have learned over 24 years, coming up on 25 years of experience, started this at a very young age. and obviously something you have a passion for and have decided to really study in depth.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you really know what you're talking about with regard
Well,
to
thank you. I appreciate that.
what it is to make this happy and successful, because going through this is never any fun. Taken from somebody who's been through it. Stay tuned for more, everybody. This is the Your Little Castle Show. Giddy up.